Chapter 19. Death. 1968 featured the Vietnam War and the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy. The war and deaths created uncertainty and stirred the consciousness of America's thinking, and in August, the National Democratic Convention arrived in Chicago with a taste for a political war. Most unsettling was that Miss Hope was replaced with a new 8th grade teacher, and we naturally drifted apart. For sale signs bloomed in front yards as white families sold their houses to black families all over the neighborhood, and we sat on curbs and watched furniture loaded onto moving trucks on Saturday mornings. Before one of our friends would get into the family car, we'd hug each other and vow that we would remain close somehow. But we quickly realized that wasn't the case, and every time someone moved, I retreated more into emptiness. In 1968, I barely passed the high school entrance exam and started as a freshman at Mount Carmel High School. There were 4 classes at Mount Carmel: first-class students, second-class students, average students, and the dummy class. Within 20 minutes of meeting my new dummy classmates, I called us the no-class class, which we profoundly wore. Drinking became more than something to do at a weekend party, and I started regularly drinking after school. On the inside, I was devastated. On the outside, a walking crisis. The Heaney's joined the exodus from Stony Island and moved to the Beverly neighborhood on the southwest side in the summer of 1969. The new community was more than a geographical relocation, because I went from a tough, blue-collar, increasingly black neighborhood to an all-white area. Then driving into Beverly, I said in a Rod Serling voice,
The Heaneys think they could move into a new neighborhood. They are about to enter the Twilight Zone.
We had been living in the new Twilight Zone for 6 months, and I sat at the kitchen table and watched Tommy as he put a piece of bacon in his mouth.
Be careful today,
I said.
and stay close to Dad. I'll see you tonight for supper.
Please, 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 can you come with us to the football game?
He asked.
No, not today, but I'll see you later for supper.
I zippered up his coat, put a white stocking hat on his head, and said,
Be proud, Tommy, because we all wore this hat. And now I place this crown on your head.
I looked at his fat cheeks, pulled the hat down to his chin so he couldn't see, and said,
You're a lucky kid to have your ears, because if you didn't have ears, this hat would be down around your chin.
He pulled his hat over his eyes and then quickly yanked it back down to his chin so I couldn't see his face.
Let's go outside while we wait for Dad, and you can get used to the cold air.
We stood at the driveway's edge, and I saw brick houses, driveways, and tall, fat oak trees. The wind shook the leaves from the trees, gliding them down, and creating mattresses on the lawns. It was a typical cloudy day, and the temperature was 41 degrees on November 2nd, 1969.
Run, Tommy, run! Concentrate. If you're not careful, you're going to fall.
Tommy giggled and looked up at me.
Maybe someday you'll be a great athlete.
He smiled at me, pulled his hat down to his chin, ran, and lost his balance, falling into the leaves. After helping him up, I pulled his hat above his eyes, and Tommy pulled his hat back down to his chin and ran and fell into the leaves again. I disappeared behind a tree and peeked out at Tommy. He was lying in the leaves and waiting for me to help him up like before. I hid for a few seconds and then looked out behind the tree and saw Tommy had pulled his hat up and was looking for me. I then noticed his small hands starting to shake. I sprang out as tears trickled down his face.
I'm right here,
I assured him, bending over and hugging him.
That's a stupid game. Let's run to the house. Run, Tommy, run!
My father appeared at the car parked in the driveway. Let's go, Tommy, my dad said wearily.
Can you come with us, Jimmy? Please, please?
I looked at my father and said,
No, but I'll see you later for supper.
I had fun at our high school game and had a couple of beers, and later that afternoon, we were hanging out on the school grounds passing the football around, and it was getting dark. A priest opened the rectory door, stepped out on the stoop, and shouted, Is Jimmy Heaney here? One of the guys pointed at me. I froze. Jimmy, you have to go home, he said, coming over. There's been a terrible accident.
Accident?
I asked. It's your brother Tommy, the priest said. He was hit by a car and killed at the football game. I was stunned and looked at my friends and asked,
Did you know about this?
We heard earlier and didn't know how to tell you,
No!
I screamed. I started to walk and fell to the ground. The priest was at my side and helped me up. It's going to be all right. It will be okay. I'll take you home. But I was up and running. I was only 4 blocks from the house,
Run, Jimmy! Run! He can't be dead!
I thought. The street in front of our house was full of parked cars. I slowed to a trot and my side hurt. I tried not to cry, and the memory echoed in my mind.
Be careful today and stay close to Dad. I'll see you tonight for supper.
Can you come with us to the football game? Can you come with me, Jimmy? Please, please, please?
Be careful. Stay close to Dad. I'll see you tonight for supper. Run, Tommy, run!
The house was full of people. On the kitchen counter were half-empty bottles of alcohol, and everyone was crying over pictures of Tommy. I overheard one of my aunts saying Tommy had lost my father, wandered into the street after the football game, and was killed by a passing car. Tommy lost my father. Tommy was only 4. He didn't lose anybody. My father lost him. How could anyone blame Tommy? I had seen my father's hungover face and knew he was in no shape to take care of Tommy. I should have gone with them. I grabbed a bottle of vodka and headed to the park. I saw 2 people pointing at a spot on the street. I ran over to them, looked down, and saw Tommy's blood splattered all over the pavement.
Do you know what happened?
I asked. Some small kid walked out between 2 cars and was killed. I heard the car crushed his head and tore partly from his body.
How fast was the car going? Who was driving the car?
Some guy who was out getting groceries or coming from church. It wasn't his fault. The kid just walked out between 2 cars and couldn't see the cars driving by because he was too short. I heard he died instantly, though.
I'm his brother. I could have stopped this. I knew, and I could have stopped this. Do you think I can still stop the accident? Am I dreaming? I need another chance.
Oh, I'm so sorry, he said. It's too late. Your brother Tommy is dead. I saw a stocking cap lying in the leaves and saw strands of blonde hair stuck and skin inside the sticky, smelly brown blood. I closed my eyes and saw Tommy pull the stocking hat up above his eyes, and he was looking for me. His hands started to shake, and his face twitched from confusion to fear. But it was too late. Tears were already trickling down his face when he pulled the blood-soaked cap down over his eyes and down to his chin. Tommy waved goodbye and stepped into the traffic and whispered,
You were my brother, Jimmy. You knew. And now I'm dead. I won't see you tonight at supper.